Like we've always said, at this channel, we are very concerned about young people, whether it's a young man, it's a young lady, just young people out there who are trying to put their life on the path where um, they have a deep relationship with God, they have wisdom for daily living, they have power to do both life and godliness. I'm saying that from the standpoint that from an understanding that life is spiritual. If you don't have that understanding, you are going to lose each and every time in life. So along that journey, I stumbled. That's a word I would use. I stumbled on God. As a matter of fact, the word intimacy actually means knowledge. There is a way when you say you are intimate with someone, is the fact that there is something you know about that person that the crowd would not know about the person. So intimacy is actually knowledge. Another great lesson I learned spiritually again, and this was, man, the turning point of my life was prayers. Principles are not just principles in themselves. Principles do not just work because they are principles in themselves. They are principles behind them. And it's in prayers you get to interact with these principles. Serving God has implications. Everything thrives by community. Everything. Righteousness thrives by community. Also, sin thrives by community. Whatever habits are strengthened by community. There is something my own pastor and spiritual father would always say: the best of men, at the end of the day, by the time you check, is still a man. The one who is really free is the one who wants the best for others. No matter how successful you are, if you're still trying to be competitive, you are not actually free. You are actually in bondage, no matter how successful you are. In a world full of confusion, pressure, and distractions, we help create content that gives clarity, direction, and practical wisdom that you can apply in your everyday life. So if you're a young person out there trying to figure out life, build a future, and stay grounded in God, then you're in the right place. Welcome once again to the podcast. Hello, family. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. You're welcome again to our channel. Like I always tell you, it's our channel. We are the owners, all of us together. We are the owner of this channel, and it's good to have you one more time or once again at our channel. And like we'll always tell you, do well to share, do well to pass this on to someone who needs it. We're going to have a very great time in this new series we are starting. So find a young person, a young man, a young lady, a young guy who needs this um, things we are sharing here, and it's going to be a very, very good thing you'll be doing for them. Like we've always said, at this channel, we are very concerned about young people, whether it's a young man, it's a young lady, just young people out there who are trying to put their life on the path where um, they have a deep relationship with God, they have wisdom for daily living, they have power to do both life and godliness. Is what we do here in this channel. Once again, you're welcome. And right now, in this series for the next 3 weeks, I hope it stays for 3 weeks. Normally, when we say we are doing these things for 3 weeks, uh, things just come up and things just opens up and we just go into this, go into that. So I'm hoping this one stays for 3 weeks. I just want to share with us the next 3 weeks of the next 3 episodes, things I've learned on my journey, some lessons I've learned on my journey. So each week we'll be taking a section of my little journey I've had. So we'll do first spirituality, things I've learned on my journey spiritually, things I've learned on my journey relationally, and things I've learned on my journey financially. And if along the way something opens up and we have to touch other things, I think would also do that. So great lessons I have learned on my journey, episode 1, and this is going to be lessons I have learned spiritually. So let's get right into it. So number 1, lessons I've learned on my journey. The very first thing I would say as I begin this episode is the fact that God is important. God is important. And I'm not saying that religiously, I'm not saying that just superficially. I'm saying that from the standpoint that, from an understanding that life is spiritual. Life is spiritual. If you don't have that understanding, you are going to lose each and every time in life. And I think if I'm going to be honest with you, I did not learn that early, even though I was born in a Christian family, even though I was all my life I've been in church. But you see, but I learned that far into my teen years, and you know how the routine is, where you just go to church for going sake, you do the things you do for doing sake. But along the way, I think at some point, the first thing that caught my attention was not even God, was just the fact that life is spiritual. So that caught my attention real good. Firstly, when I, as a young person, I saw people die, I saw people who you love, all of a sudden you can't find them anymore. So my curious teenage mind started asking questions like, where do these people, where do they go to? So sometimes I had um, a very, as you would say, a very unique kind of experience as a young person. I was this young person who I could literally just be on my own, just sit in a room on my own, just put off the lights and just wanting to be on my own. So that gave me enough room and space to think, to meditate on things, to think deeply into matters. So along that journey, I stumbled. That was a word I would use. I stumbled on God. When I did that, at first, let's say even the first 1 year, I really did not understand what I was doing. And by this, I'm talking about the fact that I came to a point where deliberately I was saved. Now, that's a story for another day, because I think after these 3 episodes, we're going to go into deep spiritual talks as touching church struggles, as touching spirituality, as touching Christianity, as touching your personal work with God. We'll be doing that for the next probably 6 weeks. So I came to a point where I became saved. Now, what does it mean to be saved? Salvation became personal to me. The works of Christ at Calvary, the works of Jesus at the cross. Um, it came to a point where beyond the glamour, the play, the joke, it became personal. But the very first lesson I will put out there is that God is important in everything we do. Reasons being that if you do not understand that life is spiritual, the people you are dealing with, they understand it. See, anyone who has done anything serious, anyone who has done anything serious knows that life is spiritual. So for me personally, I had to come to a personal understanding of that. Everyone who does anything serious holds to some form of spirituality. Anyone. For me, what I hold on to is God. That's my own form of spirituality. God is important. And by the time you lay out everything on the table to say, okay, my spirituality versus your spirituality, the origin of all things, God is the origin of all things. And by the time I'm talking about God, yeah, I know that there are many things people call God. People will tell you that Mother Nature is God, and all of those things. I'm talking about Jehovah. I'm talking about Elohim. I'm talking about Adonai. I'm talking about the one God of Israel, the God of when the Bible said, "Yeah, O Israel, your God is one." I'm talking of Jehovah Adonai, um, which is the Trinity, talking about Christ being the second person of that Godhead and the Holy Spirit. That's the God I'm specifically talking about. That is important. I think I've stayed much on this point. So, first things first, one of the greatest lessons I've learned on my little journey is God is important. Second lesson I've learned on this journey is that knowing Him or knowing God is important. Now, it's one thing to just know that God is important. It's another thing to have a personal, intimate knowledge with Him. Knowing Him is important. Because you see, but what makes the difference is your personal, intimate knowledge of God. Now, a lot of persons go to church, a lot of persons claim to be Christians, a lot of persons claim to be spiritual. But you see, but what makes the difference is that personal relationship you have with Him, your personal knowledge of Him, intimacy with Him. As a matter of fact, the word intimacy actually means knowledge. There is a way you when you say you are intimate with someone, is the fact that there is something you know about that person that the crowd do not know about the person. So intimacy is actually knowledge. So we are talking about the fact that having an intimate knowledge of God is what makes the difference. What you will call, permit me to talk about the word power. Hmm? And there are many ways you can understand power. You can understand power to be position or positionally. You can understand power to be, let's say, the ability to get things done. You see, however shape or form you understand it, true power is backed by your knowledge of the spirituality that backs you. So if I'm talking about Christianity power, Christian power, and to Christian power, we have like seven spheres to that. We have power to heal the sick, power to raise the dead. We have power to transform lives. We have power to to be creative that gives wealth. They are all shapes and forms of this thing. There's a power that delivers. There's a power that casts out devils. So you see, any shape of power you want to talk about, whether it's a power for creativity, what brings you to that space as a believer is your intimate knowledge of God. Very critical. I can't overemphasize that. Your intimate knowledge of God. So I'm saying to you that the first lesson I learned was God was important. The second lesson I learned was I have to go in depthly to find Him. That's a another great lesson I had to learn. That it's not just enough to know about God. I have to know Him personally. And whatever it takes, I would have to definitely take that journey to knowing Him. Another great lesson I learned spiritually again, and this was, man, the turning point of my life was prayers. Number three, prayers is key. And I'm not talking of prayers where you just wake up in the morning and you just do your devotion for like 5-10 minutes. I'm talking about long prayers. Long prayers. That's the long type. Gosh. And one of the things that God had to bless me with, because on my journey spiritually, I had journeyed from different communities, and when I gave my life to Christ, it was in a community of faith. So we faith things. Your what gives you a goal on that community is your ability to be bold or understanding faith. So after a while, I shifted to the guys you will call Puritans, like the people who holiness was their thing. From there, I shifted to another guy or guys, or a community where it was knowledge of the scriptures, the word, deep, intimate knowledge of scriptures, Rema, and all of those things. And the point came, I joined into a community where it was prayers. Wow, that was when it was like 1,000 bulbs came up. Like I would always say, it was like every this was the missing link. It was my God. I learned the true power of prayers. So sometimes when I see people just do spirituality, I will always encourage them. Make sure you pray. You are the praying type. You are the type where we can say, we are shutting down for 6 hours to just pray. Mm, we are shutting down for 10 hours to just pray. It's not that you will now rest, it's just prayers. We are shutting down for 24 hours to just pray. it greatly makes a difference. I learned that in a very hard way because I used to be this person who I just felt everything was about principles. If you have the right principles, you apply the right principles, you do this, you do that, it's going to work. And it's true, there is nothing wrong or that's a lie about that. Life is about principles. What you see, principles work because there are principles behind them or principalities behind them. Principles are not just principles in themselves. Principles do not just work because they are principles in themselves. They are principles behind them. And it's in prayers you get to interact with these principles. Great lesson I had to learn spiritually on my journey. It's one thing I still hold dearly, the place of prayers. And whatever you do as a young person, it's in prayers you get strength, it's in prayers you get direction, it's in prayers you get ideas, energy. It's in prayers that you tie the knot, that you put everything together. It's one of the great lessons I had to learn on my way. Oh, I think I'm spending too much time now. Let's run. Another lesson I had to learn spiritually that was of great importance is that serving God has implications. Yes, serving God is not just ordinary, it's not just a spiritual routine you do. Serving God has implications. Scriptures like when the Lord promises that even if for my sake you give up a cup of water, there's going to be a reward for that. Jesus said that, yeah, in the Gospels. Also, you see scriptures like in Hebrews when the Bible said that um, the Lord is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him, and He rewards. Serving God has implications. And one of the greatest things I had to learn was I believe serving God in church is a free platform to master your giftings and your calling. It's free. You know, I have served in various capacities. I've also served in the capacity of as an administrator. It's that wealth of knowledge, being an admin in church, that um, I carry into secular world to be a manager, to do any of the other thing I do. Take for example, there was a time we had a program where we had about 2,500 people attend that program, and I had to administer all of that. Oh my God! You how if you have workers in a company, how many can they be? And if 2,500 people showed up, let's say workers would be like 200 people who you have to coordinate to be able to get that work done. It gives you a wealth of knowledge. So serving God has implications both spiritually and physically. That's the fourth lesson I had to learn spiritually. So every time I find my place or find myself in a place where maybe I'm new, the first thing I'm looking for is how can I help? How can I serve? How can I be of great help here? Serving God has implications. The fifth lesson I had to learn on that journey of spirituality is the fact that spiritual communities are important. Everything thrives by community. Everything. Righteousness thrives by community. Also, sin thrives by community. Whatever habits are strengthened by community. Whatever it is you want to build as a habit, it is far easier to build it when you have a community. That's why when we do workout, like you go to exercise, you go to the gym, even though you can have a personal gym in your house, but nothing motivates more like when you have a community of people you are doing this together. Also spiritually, if you one of the ways to strengthen yourself spiritually, you have to find a community. It is critical. It is critical. Community is important. The last thing I will say here as we come to the end of this episode is the fact that just love. That's the sixth lesson I had to learn, and I will expatiate more on this when we get to the part of relational lessons. Just love. Your Christian life, your walk with God should be on the foundation of love. First, loving God. Everything you do should be by the motivation that you love God, and secondly, loving men. Just love. You will see a lot of things along the way that would want to discourage you. There is something my own pastor and spiritual father would always say: the best of men at the end of the day, by the time you check, is still a man. So when you say, this is the best, this is the best man that we can ever muster as people, by the time you check, at the end of the day, he's still a man. So it gives you the heart to just be gracious towards people, to be merciful towards people. Just love, because discouragement will come. All kinds of things will come. But what keeps you steady is your heart of love, is your personality of love. And love is the ability to just wish the best for everyone. I think it was today, this morning, I just read about a post that the man of God said, very powerful. He said, the one who is really free is the one who wants the best for others. No matter how successful you are, if you're still trying to be competitive, you're still there just wishing people are not as successful as you are not actually free. You are actually in bondage, no matter how successful you are. So in love, you just want the best for everybody. You just want everyone to succeed, because you know that it's in our collective success that life becomes much more easier. So those are the 6 lessons on my journey. So I hope you've gleaned a little bit from it, and I hope you've learned a little bit from it. I'll see you in the next episode. By the time will come for the other lessons I have learned on my journey with loving, relating, and just being with people. Thank you. See you in the next episode.